Hey, it's Mark Lynn here with your video thought for the day. Well, I know you may be thinking everything's coming up roses, but it doesn't always. Yes, this is part 8 in Admiral McRaven's points from lessons of Navy SEALdom that he thinks will influence and change the world. I think he's right. These were sent to me by my buddy Richard, who said, is there a biblical counterpart to these? How do these measure up biblically? And challenged me to look at each one carefully, which I'm doing. I really like today's. Today, he talks about how a Navy SEAL is required to be able to swim underwater, carrying no real light, just carrying, navigating with a compass and carrying explosives or whatever they need to carry. But this is a person who's got to be able to swim 2 miles underwater at night, finding the keel, the very bottom of a ship. And Admiral McRaven talked about how when you're doing it, you've got some light from the moon and the stars at first on the swim, but once you get into the shadow of the ship, you've got no light at all. And once you get under the ship and you're actually looking at the keel, you're seeing nothing. You won't see your hand in front of the face because of the shadows from the boat taking out any light that there are from the ship. And Admiral McRaven talks about how in these dark, tough times, you've got to be able to keep going. And there is a huge biblical effect on this. In fact, my mind immediately went to 3 different Psalms. The first one it went to was Psalm 40. Psalm 40 was one, in fact, it's one made famous by the rock band U2, the Irish rock band U2. They sang the lyrics to Psalm 40 for years and years, decades, as they closed their concerts. But it says, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he drew me out of the miry bog. And the idea behind the psalm is a dark time where someone cries out to God and then waits patiently, knowing that God will see them through. It's a tremendous psalm. The second psalm that jumped into my mind comes from the 23rd Psalm. Now you may know this, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. All right, the Hebrew there doesn't really say the valley of the shadow of death. That's an alternate reading. And that's the one that is perhaps most famous. But the Hebrew actually is talking about, though I walk through the dark valley. And that can be the valley of the shadow of death. But the dark valley is a dark place in life. It doesn't have to be just death. It can be under the bottom of the keel of a ship. When I'm in the dark places, God's rod and his staff, they comfort me. And I love the way that psalm speaks about life in a dark place, in the comfort of God, knowing God is there with you. And that brings me to the third passage that leapt to my mind, and that's Psalm 119, verse 105. It just says, thy word, God, is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Because that's true. God shatters the darkness. So you may be in a dark place. You may be under a keel. You're on mission for God. You don't need to fear the dark because we worship a God who shatters darkness. And when you're in a dark place, take comfort that he's there, because not every day is it coming up roses. But every day, God is with you. And that's your video thought for today.